Hello, welcome to a brand new, almost said five-heart. Got to get my shows right. Too many of these. Corn Nation Overreaction live on a Sunday night, 9 o'clock Central, God's favorite time zone. I'm your host, Greg Mahachko, and joining me is Every Game Jake. Every Game Jake. Where's the other guy?
Haas will be on in a moment.
What the hell?
He and my sister were out at dinner, and it ran a little bit late, so he is hustling to get on. I know. I already gave him a hard time about it, so no one else has to. So.
Oh no, we will. Because I haven't told him. I've been cooking, grilling since about 4 o'clock, and I didn't get done until after 8. I cooked pork steaks for the entire office tomorrow.
Nice.
8:13. I said, just got off the grill and need a shower. I'll see you and Jake at 9. Sounds good, bro.
Hey, I was waiting. So
look at this guy.
I don't want to hear any. Haas, there he is.
Yep. Sorry about being late. Parents wouldn't stop talking as Katie and I were leaving their house.
The old Midwest goodbye, huh?
Yep. Yes, Greg, I'm coming. I'm coming all the time. Like Arnold, I feel like I'm coming.
That took a very...
In the gym.
When I'm pumping iron, it's like I'm coming.
Great. Yeah.
Greg,
all right.
You just don't pump enough iron to know, brother.
Yeah.
You just don't pump enough iron to know.
Come on. I don't need to.
I'm sorry. That was a low blow.
All natural.
Why would you mess with perfection?
Yeah. This is what peak performance looks like, ladies.
Yeah. So, I finally got a chance to watch the game this afternoon. As Haas, you know, Jake, maybe you didn't. I was camping with my boy yesterday at a Cub Scout camp out, and so it was in the wilderness from about, midday yesterday. Anyway, long before kickoff. We got home this morning, church, grocery store, finally got to sit down, watch the game, fast forward through commercials, fast forward through injury timeouts, halftime. We got this almost a 3.5-hour game done in, probably about two hours. And then DVR shut off at the fourth quarter, 2-minute timeout.
This is such a long fucking game.
It was a long game. Yeah.
I kept looking, I'm like, somebody's going to run the ball and start to kill the clock, right? I mean, we'll run the ball and start to kill the clock, right? And then we went out throwing.
Well, Greg, did you know the score before you rewatched it?
I did not.
Okay, this game was like the equivalent of getting a root canal with no dental anesthetic.
I'll tell you what, though, the fact we won made it fun to watch.
Or it was like getting a teeth cleaning from a hot dental hygienist, like you told me about earlier this week.
Sir. Sir.
Sorry, man. Just happy for you, dog.
Hey, first off, to set the vibes for this show, I'm all positive, boys. There's very few negative feelings. I mean, you look at what happened around the rest of the country with teams dropping games that were big favorites. We came out with a win. We won by the point spread. Go big red, baby.
I'm not really negative with the exception of going back to just, really Satterfield.
That was definitely
because this is a game where I thought Ben Scott, Justin Evans, and Henry Letofsky played really good games, and they really controlled the middle there. Our run game design is fucked. Like Jake and I were at Paisans earlier today. Matt Verzal owns it, the former Husker offensive lineman.
If you're in the Omaha metro area, no free shout outs, but this will be a freebie. Paisans, great pizza. Matt Verzal, great dude. That's it. Check him out.
Yeah, and we were talking about Nash and Ty being all Big Ten.
Yeah,
and so he mentioned some things about them being Big Ten caliber for what, first time in 15 years, Jake?
I think that's what he said, about 15 years.
Yep. And so from there, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about the run game, but I want to talk to him about the run game design from the standpoint that it just was not. It's not dynamic enough to really help these guys, create open run lanes, get stuff open up. we're really hurting ourselves because you look at teams like Rutgers, they're able just to, find vacated space. Monongai, he found open space on the first drive. I told Jake yesterday, I thought he was going for, 250. I thought he was going to break the opponent rushing record at Memorial Stadium that Jonathan Taylor set.
For people who may not know about Matt Verzal, he was the backup center for 2 national championship Nebraska teams in 1994 and 1995. He played there from 92 to 95.
Well,
that's where his credibility comes from for anyone who maybe doesn't know who he is.
I don't think anybody's questioning it. I'll say this too is because I was going to ask you, Hostel, try not to step on your toes, but when you sit down and talk with someone who competed at that level, if they have a differing opinion than you, because you're such a bright guy, do you?
Right, come on, don't give me too many flowers here.
No, I was just going to say, do you acquiesce or do you dig your heels in?
Well, here's the thing, schematically, I'll use this as an example. Schematically, I know that I know what I'm talking about, but when it comes to personnel, I didn't play at that level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that's like, so somebody that goes through the wars, I'm going to listen, I'm not going to acquiesce, so to speak, but I'm going to take their opinion and go, yeah, okay. That's what they mean. I'm going to take their word for it. Because for as much as I know about scheme, I've never coached it down. It's all academic knowledge. That's all it is. If Jake wants to be hey, why did that throw up the seam work? Well, they're in cover 3. We were able to get, just attack the seams, between the corner and the safety. But if you want to talk about hey, what did Verse talk to us today about? The extension of the defensive lineman, Jake.
Yep.
That's not something that I'm privy to. That's not something that I know what I'm talking about. There.
Something that he coached me on. It was about quite a while ago at this point because it feels like it was yesterday, but it's been about 10 years now. But that initial punch off the line and extension against the opponent, all that, you got into the finer details, but Haas, you're pretty elite when it comes to X's and O's and scheming. You talk over my head a lot, even because I'm not at the level you are when it comes to X's and O's. I'm more personnel guy. And Verz is a really good mix of both because he understands both aspects of it. So,
and that's the thing where if you look at a playbook, great example, a lot of what we do run game wise is what the 05 Carolina Panthers did under Dan Henningsen, who he kind of is the godfather of the modern NFL run game, duo, wide zone, power counter. That stuff, looking at it, you're okay, this is how you should be able to execute a block. But what happens if you have an offensive guard who's strong as an ox, but can't get into the block quick enough with his feet? That's where the advice, and the opinion of somebody let's use Matt Verzal in this example. He's coached it. He knows the things that you troubleshoot to make up for a player's shortcomings, because these guys aren't robots. They're not grown in a lab. You have to change things up, very simplistically to get guys to execute at a high level.
Real quick, gents. Paul Dalen's in the chat here. By the way, he said, guess who has 2 thumbs and is going to see Hamilton in New York? He said that earlier. We all guessed Paul, and we're happy for him. But he says in the super chat, 5-1, we're winning like an NFL team, no style points.
Just win, just win, baby. But at the same time, it is ugly.
Hey,
but we talked about this earlier today too.
Games.
A year ago at this time, we would have committed murder just to win games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. What would Alabama be doing this week if they could win? If they could have won by just 1 point? I mean, we won by 7 against, against Rutgers, and I feel pretty good about that.
I'll say this because of your guys' input, insight, commentary. I'm looking at the run game a lot closer than I have. In the past, the extent was, did he get yards? Great. Now it's, he didn't get yards. Why not?
Well, like, it's one of those things where, like, so many people want to talk about the X's and O's of the passing game. Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to point this out. The X's and O's of the run game is the real chess match, especially in the Big Ten, because you're going to get so many different ways that Big Ten defenses are going to try to stop the run. They're going to do it in a bunch of different ways just to do the same thing. So you might get teams that have better D linemen. You might have teams that are more linebacker dominant. You might have teams like Michigan State's a good example that are a lot better with their safeties coming up to run the alley against your run game. So you'll get different things week to week. It's just such a strong defensive league with guys that I think they're the closest thing to NFL defensive coordinators in college football in this country.
We're running the ball very well in the red zone. It's everything before the 20 that seems like we're struggling. I don't know what it is. Haas, maybe you have insight on schemes or play calling or whatever, but to me, it just looks like we turn it up in the red zone. And everybody seems, and preseason, I kind of drug Liebentritt a bit. I admit that, because last year on tape, he had some pretty poor performances he put on tape. Man, yesterday, that guy looked awesome.
Really good.
Great performance by him. And it's awesome to see a guy, him perform the way he did, because he was just lead blocking out there like an animal. Liebentritt. And also, I sold my stock in Latovsky last week.
I did too.
From my lips to God's ears, Latovsky played his ass off yesterday. Awesome performance by Henry Latovsky. Really from start to finish. He really didn't have a bad play that I noticed. So happy to see that with him. Really stepped up in a big way for us, Henry Latovsky and Liebentritt. So
I would say to echo / rehash / repeat things that have been said in the past is we need, I don't know if it's, let's see. Rostovsky says this is going to lead into what I'm about to say, but Aaron Rostovsky says, seriously, how beautiful were the plays where we used the jet sweep as a decoy or lead blocker? It's, to come up with a word, I think it was after the Illinois game, misdirection, because when we're running right between the tackles, we're getting stonewalled. But we had some opportunities yesterday, that I found out earlier today, where we tried to run. We pulled a guard. I think it was on
power.
I mean, it was refreshing to see, and it worked. Will it work in 2 weeks against Indiana? Will it work in 3 weeks in Ohio?
I think Indiana's the PJ Fleck fraud of the week.
Yeah,
coming up. So, do we give predictions for that real quick on tonight's show?
We'll do it at the end. Yeah.
Okay, good. But I did want to mention about executing in the red zone. I will say one reason why we execute at a higher level could be compressed field. Dylan Raiola can fit it into any window. We saw the throw to Banks in the back of the end zone against Purdue. We've seen the back shoulder throw to Banks against UTEP, even though I was a little outside the red zone. When you have an accurate quarterback, it really helps you in a compressed area of the field. That being said, the run game wise, I do think there's almost something like psychological when we get into the run game. The execution's just a little bit higher. Liebentritt had that great block. Justin Evans, I almost said Justin Evans Jenkins again. Justin Evans had a great pull on that power play for Dowdell on the touchdown run.
Yep.
So, I really like what we do in that situation. Almost makes me think that we may need to just focus on what we do well instead of trying to run single back run schemes, maybe a little bit more I formation in certain instances to get an extra blocker, because we don't have that mobile quarterback anymore. We don't have the threat of the quarterback run game that adds an extra blocker and an extra gap for the defense to defend. So the fullback is, in a way, kind of like I don't want to say a secret weapon. That's kind of putting too much, reinventing the wheel there, But at the same time, it forces teams to defend something that they don't see every week.
And from a very not studied, haven't analyzed the actual data, just a feeling type thing, it seems like we have a fullback in there, we run the ball a lot more effectively than when we don't. And that's just a surface level, haven't broken down film, haven't, you know what I mean? Like, I could be wrong. In chat, Aaron mentioned that there was a play that Lutovsky didn't get down the field, which one I didn't notice. So I don't notice everything, obviously. There's, but to me, Lutovsky played a really good game, I think. I don't remember that play, but
it was Ramir's screen.
Was it Ramir's screen where he didn't get down?
And he had another really nice block. We kind of ran a misdirection play, kind of like Iowa does with Caleb Johnson.
Okay.
And he got out there and caught a piece of the DB.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that one. So, but, give him props where it's due. I mean, Justin Evans, Lutovsky stepping in for Micah Mazuka. I just want to kind of highlight Lutovsky. I was a little bit critical of him last week. So I think only to be fair to him.
I thought Ben Scott played a great game too.
Ben Scott played, I think, and also a guy that stepped in. How about Gunnar Gatula?
Yeah.
Gunnar Gatula playing awesome at that left tackle spot. We haven't had a drop off at all, in my opinion. So
I'll say this. I think there was one false start. I mean, I feel like the offensive line kept their mistakes to a minimum yesterday.
Yeah, I agree.
Still, when a guy started 50-some-odd games and he gets a false start penalty, come on.
Yeah. By the way, very special guest in the chat tonight is our very own beloved founder, fearless leader, John Johnston, who says it's because, talking about red zone efficiency, they couldn't score in the red zone last year, and the offensive coordinator is taking it personally, so he does a better job in the red zone this year.
And John, there was a false start on Ben Hart yesterday.
Is that?
He said there were 0 OL penalties. There was a false start on Ben Hart.
Yeah, John, get your head out of your ass.
But I will say this about the offensive coordinator. I'm just, why bury the lead? I'm just, I feel like Satterfield's offense is just not what is needed for college football in today's game. I feel like it's, and I know I know that some of the Chatterfield filthy animals are going to keep receipts on this, and I'm going to encourage them to, because I'll acknowledge when I'm wrong. He's the Dollar General version of Kyle Shanahan.
Yes. He
tries to do the same concepts. We just don't have, we don't have the horses. We don't have this proper pacing. It doesn't fit well together. It's still, the passing game is either a deep shot or a screen. There's no intermediate passing game where we're just letting Raiola drop back and sling it. I mean, granted, we do have to try to scheme guys open, but at some point, get into 5 or 6 man, probably 6-man scat protection, and let Raiola, drop back and throw. It's like we're so dead set on this NFL style run game that we're kind of getting to the point where it's built off play action, and it just creates such a log jam in the middle of the field. This offense creates a middle of the field NFL style game, to the point where other teams you'll watch just be able to exploit the soft spots in the defensive structure, or zone coverage, or, get somebody behind man coverage. But for us, it's like we're slamming our head into a wall repeatedly with our play calling. It's just from game to game, it just seems like there's like, okay, we're going to run duo, we're going to run wide zone, we're going to take a deep shot. Then other than that, it just feels like we're drawing up plays week to week to try to take advantage of what the defense is doing, instead of just going out there. And I know this is kind of a red meat buzzword for the fan base, but instead of going out there and having an identity, that's the big thing, where it's like, have an identity of what you do well and go and execute it.
Yeah. Don't have much to add to that. Honestly, I had thoughts, but you kind of just rolled with it. And I agree with everything you just said, man. I mean, it's, we don't, to be fair, there was some intermediate passes that were schemed up, and one of them in the first drive was dimed up and it was dropped. I know there's contact, and it's a hard catch to make, but
and that, to contrast that with, the personnel, we're always kind of talking scheme versus personnel. The amount of times that we have a ball hit a receiver in the hands, they've got to catch it.
It happens a lot.
Whether that's Fedoni, whether that's Banks, Nayor, whoever it is. It's like, You got to catch up. Jalen Lloyd on the fake punt. I know that's more special teams offense, but like, dude, you got to make a move.
Make guy miss.
You got to make a move.
I mean, you're an elite, allegedly elite, ball carrier. I mean, you got to make that guy. That should have been a touchdown. There was nobody there, and he really didn't give much of an effort. If you look back on that play, he kind of gave a little move, but he really didn't. It was weird. I don't know why he didn't make more. He probably could have just cut it up.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting him to do. Actually, just cut it.
But he kind of just broke down and then let himself get tackled. It was bizarre.
That was a great throw that Buschini made too.
He was even swaggy with it, man. It looked smooth. He didn't look like a punter throwing it. He dimed it up. So Brian Buschini, I told Haas this earlier, might be the best player at his position on our roster right now. I mean, he punts the ball so well. By the way, he goes out and makes tackles. He's physical. I mean, he's a dude. I'm a big Buschini fan. Awesome.
If he's not on the roster,
he got bent in half.
Got bent in half and then proceeded to kick to punt.
We lose that game.
61 yards, and I believe it was 71 yards when he was inside his own 5, punted down to the opponent 11. Brian Buschini, awesome. He's the one bright spot in this, not to be overly dramatic, but pathetic special teams facet of the game that we're showing right now. I mean, he's pulling snaps off the turf and getting them off for 50-yard bombs.
Oh, that's one of the things that drove me nuts. And I know I texted this to you yesterday, Jake. If you have a long snapper that's having real slow snaps, move the punter up a yard or two.
Move him up.
It's simple adjustments like that sometimes coaches tend to outthink themselves, and think, oh, that won't work. Why do that? Let's just keep coaching the long snapper to do his job better. Well, why reinvent the wheel? Sometimes it's just as simple. Like it's, for instance, hey, we want to run outside zone. Our offensive line is not really athletic enough to get reach blocks, but we have met, 3-foot splits. What should we do? Let's just keep repping the reach block. No, shorten their splits down. It's one of those things where it's like just shorten the splits down and give them space to execute. Move the punter up a little bit so he's not picking up long snaps that are one hoppers like he's fielding the ground ball.
Which is what he's been doing.
Yeah, like the fact that this is happening, and Greg, I know I texted you this, and this might be going a little nuclear for our show, but like Ed Foley, bro, like come on. Like it's not getting done.
Yeah,
Corn Nation does not condone the
Aaron Keene here. Buschini's a diamond in the pile of shit that is special teams. Yeah.
Is it bad that I was just happy that we made our PATs yesterday?
No, especially with that wind. I mean, Greg, you're over there in the land of Lincoln, and that wind was brutal yesterday.
Mm-hmm. I could tell. I mean, they said 20-mile-an-hour winds at the outset of the telecast. They showed the Nebraska flag. I mean, it was straight out.
A little bit more than 20 up in like the Omaha metro area too.
Yeah.
I want to point out, somebody said something earlier. Aaron Rostovsky said 920. Does Raiola use a little too much finesse for some of his passes?
I was getting there.
Seeing any of them in there. Aaron, that's a great point because, I mean, like, he's an elite arm talent. There is no denying it. Like, we've never had a cat like this playing the position at Nebraska. But the off-platform throws show that he relies a little bit too much on his arm rather than just the fundamental aspects of set your feet and throw. It's kind of like when Odell Beckham Jr. made that crazy catch back in 2014, every receiver thought he was OBJ after that, trying to, just one-hand it in the air. And so you saw a big, lack of fundamentals go across football at the receiver position. Patrick Mahomes, as much as I like him as a Chiefs fan, it's kind of the same phenomenon. Off-platform throws are all the rage, and they're great. Like, use them when it's you got to, you trust in your abilities or you got to get that first down. But when you're dropping back in the pocket, you're at the top of your drop after a play action fake, set your feet, deliver the strike. I mean, that's a touchdown to Lindenmeyer against Illinois if he sets his feet and throws. It's things like that where it's like he is a freshman quarterback. He's still figuring it out. He's playing at a high level. I'm not going to bag on him too much about yesterday's performance because the wind, I think, affected him. And two, Greg Schiano is a former NFL head coach. He's an NFL defensive mind. I haven't looked real closely because it's hard to see from the TV copy, but I think that they were disguising coverages really well and that they had
They were
confused.
They were. And Dylan looked like he got a big gun shy after that pick.
Yep.
First kind of bad pick we saw. That safety wasn't showing blitz. He was just sitting. He dropped back. Dylan threw right to him. We knew this was going to happen, right? But I just did, Dylan definitely tries to touch every pass in there. It's
Just
everything is
feather it in.
And I'd like to see him try to zip the ball in a little bit more. I mean, he's not, Brett Favre, right? Like, Haas, this, Greg, you don't know in the chat. I'm a big Brett Favre fan. He's a player that made me fall in love with football. I loved Brett Favre growing up. Brett Favre would make off-platform throws and still throw the ball 60 yards on a dime. Sometimes it would be into the hands of guys wearing jerseys for the other team. Yeah. So I don't want Dylan to do that. But he would always try to zip it in there. And Dylan definitely tries to always touch the ball in. Dylan's got a great arm. I'd like to see him zip the ball in once in a while.
Yeah, just stand in there and deliver.
Stand there and just rip the ball, man.
Fred says, I can't bag on Dylan because many would burn my house down, and he's a freshman, but I like to see less of the cutesy weird shit, settle in and throw like a pro.
Pretty much exactly what I just said, Fred.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what I mean. When I say zip it in there, I don't, that's pretty much exactly what I'm saying.
I
want to see him be able to stand there, out routes, the 6 to 10 yard out routes, just being able to stand there. It's like, we know that he can throw the 18-yard deep comeback.
Yep.
But can we just get the 6 to 10 yard out route, drop back 3 steps, set your feet, turn, throw, flip the hips in that direction. It's some of the fundamental stuff that I think because of this era of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, I think that quarterback fundamentals are becoming just a little bit of a lost art.
I mean, you got an elite arm, man.
Yeah.
Show the thing off.
That's one of the things like Tom Brady. I know before the year, Rule talked about playing Brady when he was at Carolina. And he was like, one thing about Brady, it was always on platform.
Ooh.
Just solid base.
Greg, do you want to highlight a few comments before I comment on Aaron's latest comment?
I do. I've got a few talking about the offensive, pass game and how we don't do a whole lot in that intermediate zone. Fred says they hit Fredonia over the middle sometimes. That's about it for their intermediate play call. And Matthew says Raiola needs to eat bad snaps and not just throw off bad snap, take the sack if needed.
I agree. Take the sack or just put it in the belly of Emmett Johnson and let him, pick up the yard.
Let's see a couple more about offense. Then we're going to switch to special teams, and we're going to finish up tonight on defense. Mr. Raj also says, well, if you can't successfully run the ball between the tackles, doesn't that make you predictable in where you will run it? Problem is,
yes and no.
We keep trying to soften up the middle of that defensive line. And, Rutgers they're pretty stout in the middle. We didn't do a whole lot between the tackles. So
it kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week, where we were talking about the design. It's kind of a chicken or egg type thing. The design of the run game is we're running just a few different basic blocks. We're just using a few different basic blocks. And defensive linemen are able to really rep, defeating those 3 types of blocks over and over again. And so if you're not really dynamic enough up front, you don't have the threat of the quarterback run game to bail you out. You're going to get beat up front. But then in a game where I thought Latovsky and Evans and Scott were playing well, the run game kind of hurt them again with not having any answers to what they were doing. I mean, if you have defensive tackles that are really, charging up field, penetrating and shooting gaps, run trap, run crunch, run wham. They're just basic complements to duo and wide zone. but we're not seeing any of that stuff.
Yep, we're not seeing it. I don't think I've seen a wham concept on tape this entire season.
Yeah, we have not run anything.
You have Johnson and Dowdell. By the way, Johnson, for as light as he is, man, that guy runs with power. I mean, he'll put his shoulder down. No wham concept. All like Haas said, all we run is duo and wide edge concepts. We don't run anything else. Why?
It's the same concept as like when you're on defense, how do you get pressure with your defensive line? You attack protections.
Or you have Indomitians too.
Or you have Indomitians too.
Where it doesn't matter what you do.
you really try to exploit the protection. So like on offense, how do you defeat, a defensive front? Well, like you exploit what they're doing for their gap assignments. So, hey, you got a 3 technique that's spiking inside of the A gap. Sweet. We'll run crunch. We'll watch. We'll take him where he wants to go, and we'll open up that hole in the B gap.
Imagine seeing Johnson put his foot in the ground and getting up on a crunch concept.
Oh yeah, it'd be beautiful.
25-yard gain up. I mean, he just put his foot in the ground and up, and we're just not seeing any of that.
It's one of those things where it seems like they want to have such an economy of run concepts to make up for it with extra pass protections and pass concepts, but it's like it's still the Big Ten Conference. You have to be able to move the football in between the tackles, or else it's going to be a long year.
It's going to be a long year.
We talked about this last week. I think if it wasn't on this show, it was on 5 Heart. So I apologize if I'm conflating shows. But if there would be a workhorse, if I think the question was if Emma Johnson or any running back would have over 18 carries, or I think maybe we set the plus or minus. I don't know. Dante Dowdell had 14 carries. Emmett Johnson had 14 carries. Dante finished with 57 yards. Emmett with 34. Ramir Johnson also had 5 carries for 34 yards. All in all, as a team, you take away you take away 32 yards that Dylan Raiola had. We netted 97 yards on the ground.
That's not going to get it done.
That will not get it. Now, in our defense, pun intended, we held their rushing attack to 78 yards. So, and
that's like calling it's a pitcher's duel. They're not. The run games aren't going up against each other.
No, I know, but all right. So,
like, I'm going to be hypercritical about the run game moving forward because I think that there's the potential there with. Up front, like they show glimmers of executing at a high level. I think Donovan Raiola is a pretty decent offensive line coach. I like the improvement that his O-lines have shown over the years that he's been here. But I think that the design of the run game is really hampering these guys from being able to execute, because you got to be able to give them some help. Like I was saying, you got to be able to, get linebackers moving one way, split flow concepts, counter misdirection, things like that. So they're able to, the offensive linemen are able to secure the first level on a double team for 3 steps, and somebody's able to come off that block and get to a linebacker instead of, hey, we're going to run it straight ahead. Our guys are running duo and trying just to double team at the first level. Meanwhile, Greg Mahachko, middle linebacker from Kankakee, Illinois, is just
come on now,
and smacking somebody. Like, we got to give them some time to secure the blocks and to catch that linebacker in their pursuit.
You had me until you put me from Northern Illinois, man.
Well, you want to be from Pontiac?
Can't I just be from Belleville like I am?
How about Cairo?
That's too far south.
Okay, all right.
It's hardly even a town.
Greg Mahachko, Belleville, Illinois.
No, it's not Louisville. You could say Metropolis, Illinois. That's a real place.
Quincy.
Too far north.
Greg Mahachko, Chicago, Illinois.
God, I hate you some days. Rostowski says, dude, anyone see the pass Dayton threw Friday? Wrong through, but we'll let it slide. In the air from his own 38 to the 7 going in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's some big air.
I did see it. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dayton is 15 years old.
He's a junior?
Is he a junior? I thought he was a sophomore. He may be a junior. That guy, huge arm, mechanically pretty close to perfect. Yeah, I saw the throw.
Yeah,
Watched it multiple times. Beautiful. It's a thing of beauty if you're a quarterback kind of junkie like I am when it comes to having a big arm and just loving guys that can just throw the ball through
Sling
a car
it.
wash without getting it wet.
Can't say car wash around here
This
with
guy's
Fred.
got some coach speed.
That throw from Dayton was pretty very impressive, and he's a Husker commit. Let's not forget that. We lost to Illinois, and the next day he announced his commitment to Nebraska. So I think that kind of flew under the radar. That guy's going to be a 5-star quarterback also.
Sure,
Yep.
Sure would have been nice, though, still, if Dom could have given us a couple of 5-star offensive
linemen. Yeah.
Get him in a different weight training program and anything's possible.
Get him a 5x5 program, a chicken fried steak.
Hey, too late. Don't turn that big lefty into an offensive lineman now. You throw the ball 75 yards in the air at 15 years old. Let's keep him quarterback.
I bet he goes to Rico's football camp.
Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Heart Podcast and other shows here on the Corn Nation YouTube channel, says, what grade would each of you give Dylan for this game?
C-.
I was going to say C- also.
Below 50% completion rate through an interception. But at the end of the day, that's the first bad interception of the year. And for the most part, he keeps us on schedule. So I'm not going to bag on him too much. I think yesterday's quarterback play we would have been over the moon with in 2023.
And third and long,
go with the bad.
Third and long doesn't feel insurmountable anymore. I mean, if it's 3rd and 13, I'm like, all right, let's see what Dylan can do, and he converts them. I mean, he'll find somebody on 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13. So, but yeah, he looked confused, and there was definitely some wide angles you can see. He even looked at a few open. Like there was one play in the 3rd quarter where Naor was open downfield, went and he pulled back. He didn't let it rip. And I don't know why he's gun shy on that, but he just pulled it back. And
I think that wind had him gun shy.
Yeah, I think he got a little uncomfortable. He'll bounce back next week through the bye week.
I know I mentioned it after the game last night, and this is purely hypothetical. It's just speculation. But we're getting into that point of the college football season where guys are not banged up, but they're starting to get worn down a little bit. You're through the first half of the year. You're starting to get to the point where cold and flu season's going around.
Yeah.
And it just kind of looked to me like he just didn't feel comfortable.
I agree.
Game. And it was one of those things where it's like, is this one of those times where you find out, later in the year, the guy was playing with the flu or sinus infection or something?
I'm going to make this quick, just a super quick aside, but Ryan Leaf, the biggest NFL draft bust ever besides Jamarcus Russell, started his first 2 games when he was with the Chargers after being the 2nd overall pick really well. I mean, he played really well. Then he played the Kansas City Chiefs, and he went 1 for 15 for 4 yards with 5 turnovers. He had the flu the entire week leading up to that game, and he played anyway. And he acted like an immature jerk after the game in the locker room. He had that famous meltdown that everyone remembers. Dude, he had a super easy out. Hey, this one's on me. But you're a rookie quarterback. Hey, I was sick. I was sick all week. I wasn't feeling myself. Dylan, somebody who never passes blame that I can see. I feel like he always wears it. And to be honest, if we could ask him right now, I think he would have been like, yeah, that's on me.
Yep.
Dylan's not the kind of guy that's going to pass blame to anybody else. I think he knows he missed those reads. I think he knows that he didn't rip it when he should have. And he'll go back, he'll look at the film and tape, and he'll get better. He's 19 years old. He's a true freshman. We forget that when we watch him on the field because he's so good. Watch him in his but then when I watch his press conferences, I see how young he is, and I see his face. I'm like, man, he really is kind of just a kid.
Just a kid, yeah.
Because he's so good when he's on the field. So I just, Dylan will get better after this. It's worse. Obviously, he didn't play very well, but he'll get better.
I honestly think he's going to play better. And, people can call me a homer, say I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, whatever. I think he'll have a much better game at Ohio State in a few weeks.
You think so?
Yesterday. Yeah, I really think that Rutgers, because they know they're a little short-handed athletically, they're going to throw a lot of, disguising coverages, flipping coverage at the snap, junk fronts, lining up in different shells, just because like they have to in order to gain an advantage. You play other teams that have better talent, they're going to play a little bit more straight up because they don't want to fuck around with trying to install all this junk during the week just to try to fool you. They're going to play you straight up,
Yeah.
So I think that I'm willing to say that I think yesterday is going to be his worst game all year.
Well, let's take a look at what some of the filthy animals had to say in regards to Mr. Matney's question. Pitt, how hard is it, Greg? It's an interesting question all around. It says B- to C+, just not his day, but he didn't fall apart like we've seen so often in the past. Let's see.
Greg? Sorry.
What'd you say?
Well, have you never seen Meet the Parents?
I have.
Can you milk me, Greg? How hard is it, Greg? Never mind.
No, I got it, Haas.
I know. It's just.
I was about ready to log off and just be like, "Spin real, guys."
No. I thought it was like did I said something like it was so hard, that's when he's like, "How hard?" Anyway,
you milk anything with nipples? I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
John says I'd give Dylan a C. He still protects the ball better than most quarterbacks years older.
I agree.
100%.
Fred says this will be a C for Dylan for me versus Rutgers. They had a scheme that flustered him and the wind, but again, dude, 6 games in, he did fine.
I agree. Fred, absolutely.
Let's see. Matthew says wait, no, I thought I was reading that as a letter grade D. I honestly, I'll say B-. I just think he
I can't
managed.
Go above a B. I can't go a B or above if you're sub 50% completion rate.
That's fine, but again, he managed the game and we got to win.
All right.
Let's see.
I'll concede to you on this one, pal.
I appreciate that. I'm just looking to see if there's any. Yeah. Regarding Dayton, he is class of 25. Wait.
I saw a bunch of comments though saying
no, he beat the class of 26 because this year's class of 25.
Yeah.
So
he's he is a junior then.
Tiger Shark Diver said a C.
Yeah.
Greg Stimple was at the game and
Right.
hopefully held onto your hat and or balloon until such a time that it was allowed to release them. Minnie, being a little bit of a homer that she is, says B+.
No offense, you're just wrong on that.
Montel said C-.
I want to see what Minnie would grade him if he throws for like 350 and 4 touchdowns.
There's
is there a grade better than A+?
There is, and I know both of you guys have seen A Christmas Story.
Yes.
When in Dream when Ralphie's in Dreamland and his teacher reads his thesis on what I want for Christmas, A+++++ all around the chalkboard of the next wall. That's what that would be. Let's see here. All right. B- on a freshman curve. So says Vince Watson.
I don't grade on a curve, but
fair enough. Let us switch over. This one's one more run game. And this one's from Rostovsky. He says, or you have a tight end that can't come off a double team on the edge to get our running back out in space. You have to wash guys down, but come off on the inside linebacker.
Aaron, one of the guys that comments all the time that really knows the game of football really well and always has very good comments. Yeah, he's right. As of right now, we have one tight end on our roster that does this consistently, and his name is Nate Borkacher.
Yeah, Nate Borkacher has a better NFL future than Thomas Fidone.
I got all the respect and love for Fidone. The knee injuries look like they've kind of taken control on him a bit. He got Matt Harrion. I think Matt Harrion would have been a perennial Pro Bowler, borderline Hall of Fame type tight end if he didn't get his knee ripped up. And Fidone kind of looks the same to me, and I hate to say that because it's not
not his fault.
Not his fault.
Not his fault, and I love the guy. He does. He looks kind of slow out there. He doesn't move as smooth as he used to, and he can't really kick out and block that well. And Nate Borkacher does. But Nate Borkacher also doesn't have the same threat in the receiving game that Fedoni still gives you. Fedoni is that good. Fedoni on one leg
That's actually a really good point,
is
Jake.
still a pretty damn good receiving tight end on one leg. Not when you're – here's the thing, though. Sat is scheming him on tight end screens. Not him. Why? Have him on deep crossers, vertically down the field where he shines. Why are we doing this?
Well, it's like we're throwing those little
Not his
arrow RPO screens to him against UTEP. It's like that's not his game.
It's not his game.
You know, he's a good down the field threat. He's not a jump ball guy. He doesn't have that kind of body control.
He's damn good down the field.
Not a yak guy, but he's good at getting downfield.
Yes. And we're not scheming. We're scheming him on these screens where he has to stop, change his momentum, try to get upfield after he catches the ball. He's not a yak guy. He's not. Give him the ball, 12 yards downfield, and let him secure the catch. And also, he's strong. Break a tackle, get another 8 yards.
Yep.
I love Fedoni. Man, he's one of my favorite players. He just, I hate to see what happened with his knee.
He's being misutilized.
100%. It's pissing me off.
Yeah. He's not a Travis Kelce tight end. Is
the
best way to put
no.
it.
He's not a Cole Kmet.
Yeah, he's not going to give you that.
A couple more grades here real quick. Greg, who's the other Greg, who was in the stadium last night, says C regarding Raiola. I think he was scared to throw another pick. Michael Hassman says C-. Kaylee Bartle says if we're judging as a freshman, he gets a B. If we are objectively looking quarterback play, C-. So this is, and I agree, Tiger Shark Diver Fedoni can't get in the damn end zone. Although I did see some pictures today. In fact, he actually retweeted them. He said, I don't know if this makes me feel better or worse, but it looks like his foot was still in bounds when he was diving.
I saw a shot of that on Twitter as well. It looked like his foot was still in bounds.
Yeah, I feel bad for the kid.
I do too.
Be nice for him to get in the end zone. He kind of like Ramir Johnson. Like these guys who've been with us for a long time, they are multi-regime guys. You like that they've stuck it out, and you really root for them. But they need a little help from the play calling and sometimes from the officials.
Well, and I believe that Fedoni is about as tough a player as you're going to see. The guy's just tougher than hell, and he's out there competing, and just to see the way we're trying to scheme him just makes me sick because I think he could have a damn good career for us if we just utilize him differently. Greg, like you say, he's being misused.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Fedoni guy. I really love the guy. He's built like built like Tarzan, used to play like Jane. He doesn't play like Jane anymore. The guy plays his ass off. And I don't know. Like I say, man, I love this university so much and these players. And when I see him being misused like this and to a disservice, it makes me mad.
Right.
Especially a guy like Fedoni who has bled Husker red for years. Yeah. And he's out there getting misused, and it makes you want to grab Satterfield and be like, dude, what are you doing? Get number 24 the ball where scheme him where he should have the ball, which is greater than 7 yards down the field. He's a vertical tight end. He's not a Kyle Pitts. He's not a Travis Kelce. Give him the ball downfield.
I agree.
Well,
they almost use him they almost should use him more in a way like Mike Riley and Danny Langsdorff used, like Tyler Hoppus.
Dude, 100%.
He was more of an inline guy. He's not a Seethan Carter. Seethan Carter we used more as a weapon. Just put players in a position to succeed. It's that simple.
Here's a throwback. Mike McNeil.
Yeah, the adjuster.
Mike McNeil. Throw him the ball downfield. McNeil, if he would ever see this, he would laugh and agree. Mike McNeil had no footwork. You're not going to give him the ball on a tight end screen. He's not going to make anything happen.
Yep.
Throw the ball. He's a vertical tight end, vertical threat. Throw the ball downfield. He'll make it happen. Fedoni's like that. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah, that's what TSD says. I like to see Fedoni get some jump balls in the end zone.
Yeah.
I think he'd go up and battle. Get him, He'd at least get some of them. He may not get them all, but he'd get some of them. All right, well,
Your head's cut off a bit.
What?
Top of your head's cut off a little bit.
Yeah, I had to move my laptop back.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about
there we go.
Growing disappointment from one coordinator to growing disappointment for another coordinator. Let's talk special teams, or as it was said, hold on. Where we got?
There's not a lot that needs to be said there.
Aaron Keene says, I sincerely hope we talk about the special ed unit tonight because FML.
That's good. That's good.
Luckily for us, we have a special teams coordinator. He's probably sitting in a bar in Lincoln right now. His name's Bill Bush.
This madness has to stop. Like, when you hear that Rule had problems with special teams going back to when he was at Temple, and Foley's been his DC or special teams coordinator since 2013. At that point, it is who he is. The schemes are outdated. I know there were some comments earlier that were asking about what they were doing to exploit us. I don't think it was really so much like, in that case, a scheme issue. I think what they were doing is they identified that guys aren't well coached on the punt unit, and somebody's vacating their assignment too soon in that left side B gap because they repeatedly overloaded it, they exploited it. And then, the fake field goals that he liked to run last year, we ran one against Louisiana Tech. It's a great scheme. 15 years ago. Our kickoff units are atrocious. We're going to give up a kickoff return for a touchdown at some point this year.
I agree.
Our back.
And I agree with that. And as much as I like Ed Foley as a person, I hear him talk, he's kind of guy.
He's one of us, kind of.
Have a beer with him, and shoot the shit, but someone's got to be held accountable because this special teams, every unit of our special teams is a disgrace.
To answer David Matney's question, is it a coaching problem or a personnel problem? We've got first and second string guys 100%. On the special teams. Like we're trying to put our best athletes on the field. So I don't think it's a personnel problem. I think it's a coaching problem.
Yep. And he doubled down and said it's a personnel problem, which again, everyone has their own opinions, which is fine. I'm not saying he's wrong. In my opinion, we have first string guys out there, and this is not a personnel problem. This is a coaching problem. How many blocks, how many field goals and punts have we blocked in the last 2 weeks? 5?
Ooh.
Yeah, well, let's see. Two
field goals to Purdue.
2 punts have been blocked. We had a punt blocked against Colorado.
Yep. That's more than 2 weeks, but
yep.
You know my point.
Yeah. But still, to be at the halfway mark of a season and to have 5 kicks blocked already is just lunacy.
Right. And people will be
I'm sorry, I think that the move for Foley to be gone, whatever, that needs to be way more of a thing amongst Husker fans than it actually is. The fact that it's being tried to pass off as personnel than coaching is just, quite frankly, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm not a pitchforks and torches kind of guy with Ed Foley because I do like him. I'm not saying we should run him out of town, but someone has to be held accountable.
Exactly.
For this, and unfortunately for him, at least in my opinion, the coaching is what's to blame on special teams. At least that's what it looks like. So, like I've said many times on this show, in terms of officiating, if I was this bad at my job, I wouldn't have a job.
Yep.
And Ed, love you, man. I wish you the best, but as of right now, you haven't done the best job. And I think that maybe it's time to look at other options. So,
well, and it says a lot that he's had bad. Can't talk evidently. Rule has had bad special teams going back to Ed or Temple.
Every level he's been in, he had bad special teams when he was with the Panthers.
Yeah, now special teams at Carolina, and
Carolina is the worst run organization, the worst owned organization in the NFL.
Yeah, you can make a case maybe all of professional sports.
Yeah. Tepper's terrible, but
and while we're on the topic of Carolina, I'll say this: I love Matt Rule. I love what he does as a program builder. I love what he does as a spokesman for the university and the football program, as a recruiter. and just, as a motivator. But right now, there are some trends that have emerged going back to last year that continue to kind of rear their heads in terms of game management decisions. That it's one of those things where I'm not saying, like Rule's not the guy. It's just having honest and open conversation and dialogue about shortcomings, critiquing the game, which is, that's why we're on a podcast. That's why we have people listening and watching our podcast, because we're critiquing Nebraska football. There's a lot that is left to be desired with game management. The big one is what Paul Dalen pointed out earlier about NFL style wins, no style points. This is a strategy that's almost bit us in the ass on more than one occasion. We can't just sit on leads. Like in college football, you have to keep scoring.
So this is what I mean when I said, last week, I had a little pushback from that. When I say like running up the score, I don't mean running up the scores in. You're still throwing bombs when you're up by 30 points, but putting your foot on their throat, win the game.
Yep. Go win the game. It's kind of like, we were talking earlier today about how we're winning like Iowa, like 14-7. That game yesterday is how Iowa wins football games.
And I don't want to be compared to
and
that.
Winning is the greatest thing ever. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. But
there, by the way, there's one program that I will not mince words on. Poverty program, black and yellow to the east of us. Their fans, at least not all their fans, obviously, because every fan base has bad fans. The ones I've interacted with are a joke.
Yep.
I had one actually straight up be like, yeah, the program traditions of each school are pretty comparable. We've won like 350 more games in your program. But we are winning like them right now. And whether we want to admit it or not, as Nebraska fans, Iowa wins 9 or 10 games a year.
And I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. The Scott Frost losing pretty era, let's get rid of that.
That's what happened under Frost the whole time. We lost pretty. Yeah, that's all we did.
And so, I'd rather win ugly. But, Rule has mentioned on more than one occasion how Iowa wins. Ferentz, the respect he has. And it's like, Rule, I love you, man. But it's like, are we moving too far? Are we being a little reactionary to your first year in the Big Ten Conference?
I really don't want to
become like Iowa.
No, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Let's not become Iowa.
Real quick on special teams here. Minnie does say, we didn't recruit for special teams and we lost players. We wouldn't have even had a backup kicker for Alvano if Hull didn't just happen to be there.
Yeah, it's bad coaching.
You never recruit directly for special teams. You put your guys in on coverage units, return units. But Ed Foley has 6 positions that he's responsible. Or not even 6, because I'll say return men should just be skill guys. He's got, really 3 positions that he's directly responsible for. Long snapper, kicker, punter. And right now, all 3 abject failures.
Not punter.
Well, yeah. Sorry. But that's not one that Foley recruited. Buccini's a third-year guy already.
Buccini is, not only is he not an abject failure, he might be the best player on our team at his position.
Yeah, because Buccini was a Montana transfer. Bush brought him in.
John wants to know, or maybe observe, so we didn't know what to do with Rutgers punt formations.
Again, I think that's a case of they identified, guys don't know how to hold their assignments, hold their count for blocking on punts, and they just exploited a weakness.
They exploited us not knowing what we were doing.
Tiger Shark Diver says, Buccini looks older than me, and I'm 33 years old.
I said that same thing. Tiger Shark Diver. I'm 33 as well. I'll be 34 next month. I said the same thing during the game.
Last week, by the way, just a real quick throwback to TSD, somebody mentioned that I have a spittoon. Yes, I do. I have many spittoons, actually. And as we do this show, you will notice a lot of different spittoons will make their appearance, some of which I will not include because their designs are probably not should be shown on camera. But this one's just a wood design, so it's fine to have. Anyway, TSD, always appreciate him in the chat.
Jake's got an Iowa spittoon is what he means.
Oh, yeah. Iowa Hawkeyes.
Kaylee says, I was a little negative when I saw Bushini's spine fold in half. That was
No, he's tough. I knew he'd be fine.
unfortunate,
Tough guy.
I still don't know if that guy really got a piece of the punt. Like on the replay, unless I was just, looked at it quick and then dismissed it. Honestly, I think there could have been a case for roughing on that.
It's hard to say.
It was so bang.
Bushini, you see a punter go down like he did last week and make a tackle the way he did. He's a tough guy. He's going to be fine. He'll let you know when he can't play. That guy, he's tough.
Living in Omaha, David Matney, the official realtor of the Five Heart Podcast. Another fantastic content here on the Corn Nation YouTube channel says, can the long snapper situation be corrected at this point in the season? I know you guys talked about just move up a yard.
I don't think so.
I don't think it can be because I think that it would have been corrected by now. I think right now we just have to roll with what we have and just hope that we have good snaps. Yeah, I don't think it can be corrected. Not at this point in the season.
Let's see. Londell says, Montana ages you. Hi from Helena, Montana, the home of our last game's MVP. And let's see. Minnie says, I'm hoping this week they fly Watuki to see the long snapper whisper, and every snap is perfect after that.
Hope so.
There was a comment here. I thought I started, maybe not, but I think James Boardman said this would have been, today would have been the day to make a change. See if I can find it here real quick. I apologize.
On special teams?
On special teams. Yeah, just because going in the bye week, having a little extra time to, get a new coach, 2 weeks to get somebody coached up. So I didn't hear any announcements to that effect. So
can we talk defense, boys?
I think it's time. Let's talk defense. First of all, I want to talk. Fred said this 5 minutes into the show, so about an hour ago.
Sorry, Fred.
No, all good. Shiano said, this is why I start comments for later. Shiano said our defensive line, especially interior, is top 5 in the nation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree.
And I feel like they played lights out. They didn't play. We talked last week. There was the second half of Illinois, the first half of Purdue that were just not great football. But I feel like the D-line, they were out to make a statement yesterday.
Yeah, and they did. And they made that statement. Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmacher both are absolute game wreckers. Both, especially like Ty in the NFL, not to throw back too much, but like we were talking to Matt Verzal today. So he's a true 3 technique in the NFL.
Zero in the NFL. Haas, right. And he should be a relatively high draft pick, in my opinion. I mean, the guy is an absolute stud. Awesome player in the middle. Nash is good too. Hot take. I think James Williams and Haas kind of disappeared there, but
yeah, he said he had to step away. We're good.
Gotcha. James Williams. Not just saying this because of the sacks, right? Because people look at stats and go whatever. I said this without the stats, even being, I made notes without him not even making plays. Not only is his first step off the line elite, and he's so fast and he's so elusive and he can get to the quarterback. Also, he's physical enough in the run game. There was several plays where a ball was handed off and he was upfield rushing the passer on draw plays.
Right.
He came back upfield and it was a 4-yard gain instead of a first down because he would drag the running back down. James Williams, in my opinion, is a superstar on the verge of just right there. Big James Williams guy. Like I said, that first step that he has is as elite as I've seen. I'm not an expert, former player, obviously not Nebraska, but former player, whatever. He is elite in my opinion. And I'm happy he's playing for us, to be honest with you.
What do you think about this lineup they had at times? James Boardman says Robinson, Hutmacher, and Van Poppel in at the same time. That's a beefy line.
Yes, Poppleton, as my dad calls him.
Poppleton.
There's some phenomenon that happens with guys once they reach like 45 years old. They no longer know how to pronounce player names. There's something.
I've got 3 more years then. 3 more years.
Steve Sipple does the same thing. My dad, he's the king of the malprop. Van Poppel, absolute stud. He was in there just when he was in there, he was disrupting plays. That was the best 3 we had on the D line: Robinson, Hutmacher, Van Poppel for down linemen all game. And Van Poppel is a difference maker, and I think he's going to have a heck of a career here with us. And honestly, there's no drop off. He's right there with those other 2.
Right.
I mean, he's awesome.
Let's see here. I love this comment here from Vince Watson. Says Ty's making more money with each game. Glad he came back. You know, he's
throw the bones, baby. Ty
he's bumping up his resume. I mean, he's looking like he's going to get a combine invite. He's looking at probably top 3 rounds.
Yeah, combine invite. The guys should have a little bit more than a combine invite, in my opinion, Greg. You know what I mean? He's the guys. My God, the athleticism, the strength, the speed, and then people will be like, "Well, the stats." Yeah, he's not going to have great stats. He get double and triple teamed the entire game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's what frees up guys like James Williams coming off the edge, and Princewell and MJ, whoever, right? Because he's eating up double and triple teams, and also he splits double teams and still is disruptive.
And also, he had a sack for 9 yards yesterday, and he had a pass breakup, and he had a QB hit.
Pass breakup encapsulates his entire career to this point in one play. How good he is, without it showing up necessarily on the stat sheet, right there. His awareness of the game and his impact is almost immeasurable. And, a lot of Nebraska fans, it's awesome, especially, in the filthy animals in our chat that really know football. We're very blessed to have such a great fan base that knows his impact on our game. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, geez. Sorry, I can't.
His impact on the games is immeasurable, how good he is. Truly, I get a little romantic about football. I get very romantic about Nebraska football, but Ty Robinson to me should be a top 60 pick in the NFL draft. So top first or second round, in my opinion, for sure.
I don't think I did that, Fred. I don't know. I don't think I did that at all.
Right, that's the blood sign.
No, I can do that. I don't know.
Crip gang. I don't. No, I'm just kidding. Anybody out? I
have no idea. This used to be a popular thing for a bunch of Carhartt wearing, tobacco chewing folks at Gretna to do.
Yeah, I would say somebody earlier in the chat said I was hoarding chew spit. I do not hoard chew spit. I dump it down the toilet and flush it like any normal tobacco.
When I chewed, I never flushed mine down the toilet.
What did you do with it?
I throw it away.
In the trash?
Yeah, because I always spit into a water ball. I never had a spittoon.
Oh, yeah, no, I popped the top off.
You went to college with me. I never even had a spitter most of the time. I just gutted it.
Yeah, well, good acid that's the way to get acid reflux.
Never have had heartburn a day in my life.
No, I take this, I pop the top off, dump it down the toilet, disinfect the thing, and wipe it off with Lysol, and it's good to go for the next time.
Do you pour your bacon grease down the toilet too?
No, I cook with bacon grease.
You put it in a jar in the fridge, you heathen.
Yeah, put it in a jar in the fridge. I don't cook with anything but bacon grease. I don't use anything else. No Pam. I don't use vegetable oil. Don't use nothing. It's bacon grease every time. Don't use butter.
Damn.
Nope. Everything I cook is cooked in bacon fat.
Talking about James Williams, Tiger Shark Diver had this stat line for him: 4 tackles for a loss, including 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hurries.
8 QB hurries.
That's insane.
2 sacks for 16 yards. Actually, I've got him at 5 total tackles. So
Man, I did not know he had 8
You know,
QB.
the thing that drives me nuts is I'll count any tackle on the quarterback at or behind the line of scrimmage, as a sack, even if he's scrambling. I still view it as a sack. Those stats really should be more like 4 or 5 sacks. The way he was getting after it. I mean, just Rutgers had no answer for his speed.
You were kind of absent for a second there, Haas. James Williams, to me, is a legitimate star.
Oh, yeah.
That is just waiting to emerge.
That was the very first play last year against Northwestern when he sacked Sullivan on their first drive. Had no idea who 90 was.
Yep.
Like,
he has tools that cannot be taught.
It's Randy Gregory type pass rusher.
Type speed.
And he's got the closing speed. He's got the bend. Yeah, like this guy, some might say he's just a speed guy. He actually has done a really nice job of stopping the run, too, because he's got that length, to get off of blocks from an offensive tackle, to long arm tackle on, like a stretch play, and be able to disengage. This guy is going to be in the NFL. This guy is NFL type speed.
Well, we talked about Ty. We talked about James. Talked about Riley Van Poppel or Van Popperton. Poppleton. Let's give some love.
I stepped away. Yeah.
Kaylee says this game felt like a Nash statement game, even if his stat line looked merely okay. His QB pressures and closing running lanes down were a huge difference.
I'm going to be honest with you. Stat lines don't mean shit when you're a defensive lineman.
It's like
what 100% correct. Nash had a statement game.
When Sipple asked Rule last year, because Sip said Robinson was dominant against Northwestern. He didn't record a tackle.
Yep.
And Sip asked, how can he be dominant? Rule goes, stats, don't tell the real story. Or, a nose guard or a defensive tackle. It's about disruption. And he disrupted and collapsed the pocket all game long yesterday.
Yep.
Callie McManus could step up into the pocket.
Kaylee's 100% correct. That was a statement game by Nash. Awesome insight, and I have nothing else to add to it. Just disruptive not every play, but on most of those dropbacks he was.
Have we when I stepped away, have we talked about like the overall defensive scheme at all?
No. We're just talking about personnel right now.
One of the great things that I saw yesterday was we got back to playing that 2023 style of the 3-3-5. Overloading sides of the formation, attacking protections, bringing pressure, playing a lot of man coverage. We saw Marquise Buford get beat deep, on a play where he kind of lost his feet. He played a phenomenal first half. And then, he kind of, Jake pointed it out, kind of got into his own head.
Kind of the notes that I made, because I made notes throughout the entire game. So you see my first half notes, if you guys could see them, it was about how great Buford was playing. And then the second half, he got unfocused.
Yep.
He got sloppy, and he would admit that himself. I'm sure that this never is. This never is a show where we're going to talk about bashing players and anything like that. But he did. He got sloppy. He got unfocused, and he would admit that. I bet he would. If he didn't, then he would just be wrong.
The one thing I found so encouraging from that first half performance too, what kind of showed what style of defense we were going to play is we played a lot of man. You can see our corners running downfield with their receivers. We're not passing them off. We played man coverage in the back end. We started to attack with Isaac Gifford, attacking the line of scrimmage. He had a few busted run fits.
The first half he was uncharacteristically poor.
Yeah, he was overrunning stuff. We were bringing him on.
He was in position, he missed, and it's not like him to miss that way. So I'll give him a pass because I think he's a really good player. He missed, and he missed a lot in the first half.
He got better in the second. He almost had that play where if Callie McManus holds onto the ball for a split second longer in the end zone, Gifford smokes him on a safety.
People that are fans, you want to talk about. No, sorry, Haas, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the announcers kept pointing out, like, oh, these guys are, they're jumping into gaps. They're jumping out of gaps. They're playing undisciplined. The 3-3-5 is all just kind of about creating havoc. And like sometimes you're going to gamble and miss, in your initial fit. But like what they didn't point out was Gifford busting on a run fit wasn't a missed assignment. It was just, here's his assignment. He just doesn't finish the play. It's that conversation of here's scheme, here's personnel. Scheme loads the gun, personnel pulls the trigger.
You don't think Gift doesn't know he missed? He knows he missed.
Exactly.
Right here. He'd say it everything. He'd be like, yeah, you don't think I didn't know? Anyone that ever was a competitor that actually played at a relatively high level would understand. He knows. He knows he missed. The fans aren't telling him anything he doesn't know. The guy's a dog. The guy's a competitor. He's a tough guy. Yeah, he messed up. He missed his fits. He missed his fits. He knows he missed those fits, and he made up for it in the second half.
Yeah,
He missed.
I love the fact that we were able to play him at the line of scrimmage more.
Hell yeah.
Because I think that's something against Purdue. You saw him on skates trying to track down backs as they were going through the secondary. It looked like 0-1 Nebraska-Colorado.
He's a hell of a player, by the way. You want to watch somebody play the rover / safety position almost to perfection, dial up number 2. But he missed yesterday. He did. First half, first few drives were really rough.
Jake and I got a buddy of ours who he's a little bit younger than we are, so he hasn't seen as much Nebraska football. But in our group chat yesterday during the game, he asked us, what is this the best defense we've had? For context, our buddy's born in 2001. And so
young.
He didn't see 99, and he's a little young for 2009. And like as good as this defense is and what it's shown, that largely to this point, that Illinois was a one-off situation. 99 was still a little cut above. 09 was a whole nother cut above this defense.
Yeah.
To me, this defense has so much potential because of the sum total of its part, the sum total of it being greater than its parts. This defense has the potential, like if our offense could just be consistent and score, play good situational football, we're a fringe playoff team. Like fringe playoff team, but the margin for error is so razor thin.
Yep. And I think we have to have those schemes that get Dylan to put the ball in receivers' hands, 10 to 15 yards downfield. I'm not saying deep shots, but I'm saying that intermediate pass game that we don't seem to scheme at all. Something like casual fans don't really understand. Haas and I were talking about this earlier. Someone will look on film and be like, well, Nayor blew the coverage wide open. Nayor might not even be – he's not even in –
He's not live.
He's not even live. He's just clearing out the D. He's not even an actual receiver.
I thought of this after we were talking about it. Remember Tommy Armstrong always throwing the deep alert route to Brandon Riley? People were always like, why is Langsdorff calling that play? He's not. He's not calling that play. That's Tommy making the decision where that's the clear out route. He's being told, hey, if you feel good about the matchup, throw it. But the problem with Tommy Armstrong is he loved that matchup every single time.
It fits the Tommy Ward number 4.
Yeah.
Because he played like Favre.
Yep.
He would just
it goes
that thing downfield, man.
Tommy giveth, Tommy taketh away.
Hey, you better have your cup on.
Opportunity to win games. He was our best opportunity to lose games.
Yep. You better have your cup on because that thing's coming in like Noli Ryan, man. Tommy, man, miss him.
Yep.
Good QB.
Competitor.
Tough fucking guy. I mean, he came into my store and shop one time, we were talking, and man, great guy, just awesome, hard-nosed competitor. Love Tommy Armstrong. Kind of forgotten guy because he played in that weird like Pelini Riley era that like people don't really remember. But man, he was good. He had a guy at a cannon for an arm. I mean, he could throw the ball 70 yards, and people don't remember the bullets he could throw. I mean, he had a really good, because he was like, what? He was 6'1", maybe.
Yeah, 6 foot, 210.
210. He could run, could throw. Not saying I'd rather have him than Dylan, but I'd like to have him now. Not over. Dylan, I think, is a special player, but
well, shit, I think Tommy Armstrong would have probably taken us to 8 games last year, 8 wins.
8 wins. I think Tommy might take us to double digit. No offense to Heinrich and the other quarterbacks, except Jeff Simpson. like I said, I respect everybody. Got love for anybody that straps it up for this university, and I appreciate what you do. But, to get a little edgy on the show, Jeff Sims is the worst quarterback that's ever strapped it up at this university. Hope you're doing okay at Arizona State, buddy, but your time here was pretty bad.
Because, I mean,
Greg, who's worse? I see Greg thinking, Greg, who's worse?
Joe Daly was the worst.
Nope. Joe Daly.
Joe Daly threw at least threw for 19 touchdowns.
Nope. Joe Daly would have won us 8 games last year.
Riker Fife.
Nope. Riker Fife would have won us 7 or 8 games.
Do you remember the fake Navy SEAL on Twitter who was a Husker fan who loved Riker Fife? Anyone remember that one?
No.
The World Herald did a special on how this guy catfished everybody.
Someone in the chat, Luke McCaffrey.
Greg, you got to remember this. Dry Husker frog. You remember that guy.
Was Jeff Sims worse than Luke McCaffrey?
Yes.
Yeah, Jeff Sims was worse than him. Turman, nope. Turman won us a game.
Even Amigos cut ties with Jeff's. Yeah, the pick 6 special. Pick 3 items, shit your pants, fumble the football. Yeah.
Just Jeff Sims couldn't even hand the ball off the right way.
No.
Like he would turn the wrong way on handoffs. Like the guy just got super messed up. It just wasn't a good fit.
Almost cost us when he came in against Purdue because Harburg was banged up. He fumbled. He probably fumbled because he turned the wrong way.
Yep, turned the wrong way. And Sims, really good guy. He did a lot of outreach stuff with hospitals here in Nebraska. He did a lot of really good humanitarian stuff, and I really think he's a very good guy. He's a great person. Yeah. I have to be honest with how I feel. As far as the quarterback position is concerned, he's the worst.
Well, I want to point out this. Comment real quick from Wrinkly Beef at 1021. Greg.
Yeah.
Can you pull it up? Be nice to him. God damn.
I am nice.
Here's the thing.
Because he said that Sims had a tough game.
He did have a tough
game. We're not saying anything bad about him. This is no indictment on him as a person.
No.
This is strictly about how effective you are on the football field.
Dude, I would Jeff Sims, if I could, I'd buy him beer anytime at a bar, put my arms around him and whatever, but I just have to be honest, his performance at this university was the worst I've ever seen at his position. It was. So good guy, great human being, just didn't work here.
It just didn't work. It's just like the saying, you can be a great person and bad at your job. You can be a horrible person and be great at your job.
Yep.
He
was a great person and just it didn't work.
Aaron Keene.
He would fumble the beer. Yeah, he probably would drop it on the floor.
Yep.
And then I would have to buy him another one. And that would be
it'd be horrible if he asked you if he could use your spittoon. He'd probably drop that.
Luckily for me, these are American made and they are spill resistant. So if you drop them, they don't spill.
I noticed he didn't actually drop it just then.
No, I do. I have. Haas has actually seen me knock these off tables
many times.
They do not spill. Mud Jug, actually. American-made product. Again, they're not a sponsor of the show, but
I want to say a couple things about Nebraska and Rutgers. Nebraska stayed undefeated against the Scarlet Knights. In doing so, Idaho Husker said this at 9:02, only defense in the nation to not give up a rushing touchdown. By God, when the announcers or the production crew, whatever it was, made that fact known last night, I said, well, here we go. The next drive, I'm sure Rutgers is going to do it. But the defense held firm. And then there's this. This was compiled by Ben Scott Stevens. There are 43 FBS defenses that have forced 8+ turnovers this year. There are 16 FBS defenses that have recorded 15+ sacks this year, and 11 FBS defenses are allowing less than 14 points per game this year. And only one of those only one FBS defense is doing all three, and that's Nebraska. 11.3 points per game, 20 sacks, 10 turnovers. Pay Tony White double.
Yes.
Honestly, if Tony White ends up not getting a head coaching job this year, which he will, but like on the off chance he doesn't, make him the highest paid DC ever. Give him $3 million a year.
Yeah.
Seriously, like the fact, like I love, and this goes back to Rule just being Rule, how good he is at, building programs and talking up, not bearing the people who came before him. But he talked about how the rebuild of our defense really started with Bill Bush in 22, because adjusted for the games that Bush was the DC, that was a top 30 defense, the rest of the year when Bush was coordinating them.
Haas, you're talking my language, because there's no bigger Bill Bush fan in the entire world.
Oh yeah, you're a huge Bill Bush guy.
I'm the biggest Bill Bush fan that ever lived.
And then White comes in, and I'll admit it, I didn't know much about Tony White when we hired him. Minus I was like, all right, 3-3-5. He worked for Rocky Long. I liked what his San Diego State teams did. Like, this should be interesting in the Big Ten, the way that we'll conform different to the game plan each week. But right out of the gate, you're talking about Tony White's defense showing some serious ability against Minnesota. They hung in there against Colorado. They got better and better as the year went on last year. And this year, they're showing that same kind of progress. But you don't see defensive coordinators step in like that in college football and in year one put together elite defenses like that. Alex Grinch, if anyone remembers when he was the name du jour of college football defensive coordinators, goes to SC or goes to Oklahoma, then he goes to SC, Ohio State. He was all over the place. Never put together great defenses after he was at Wazoo. But you know what? This defense, it just has the ability to have answers for whatever an offense is trying to do. They're well coached. Rutgers is ripping us for 12 to 15 yards per run on their first drive. We adjust and we take it away.
Yep.
It's just, like they're good in-game tacticians. Tony White's the best defensive coordinator in the country.
He is. And how hard is it? Greg commented, I am personally offended that Bush is not on this coaching staff.
Same.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Again, not to take jabs at a guy that's obviously down, but what I'm just gonna say it. Why do we have Ed Foley when Bill Bush would
probably 10 miles away from the stadium right now?
Bill Bush has joined and left this coaching staff how many times, Haas? 6?
Yeah, because he was a GA in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then he came from Utah when Callahan was hired.
He just keeps being hey, I'll do it. And then he goes and does an amazing job. And then
he's almost and I mean this with all due respect, if Bill Bush listens to us, I mean this with all due respect, dude. We're president and CEO of the Bill Bush fan club here. The guy's like the Forrest Gump of college football, and I mean that in a good way. He's been he's done these great things. He was at Utah with Urban Meyer. He recruits Alex Smith to Utah. Nobody else wants Alex Smith.
Number one pick.
And then he's at LSU. He brings Joe Burrow to LSU.
Yeah.
And some people might scoff at this because it's not a huge deal. Nebraska, he gets us, a 24-17 win against Iowa in 2022, snaps the streak of losing to them because he had that famous quote after the game when they're like, Coach, how do you feel about that? What made the difference? He's like, fucking black shirt defense. That's what made the difference.
Bill Bush is the man.
Yeah, he just everywhere he goes. I mean, he was responsible for bringing Eric Hagg, Prince Amukamara. I think he was responsible for Sue since he was the West Coast recruiter under Callahan. The dude brought insane amounts of talent to Nebraska football,
Larry Asante.
Yeah.
Love, by the way, also one of my favorite defensive players ever. Larry's still super plugged in on social media. Don't know if he watches this. If he does, Larry, you're my kind of dude, man. Just a psycho. Love to see it.
There's one.
I wonder if Bill Bush turned down a job, TSD.
I don't think he was ever offered.
I don't think he was offered a job, TSD. I think that it was never in the cards. I do not think that he was offered the job.
There was one more that I remembered that Bush.
Yep. See right here. I think he stated he was not invited to stay. Yeah, I think that was the case.
Bush recruited Jamar Chase to LSU when he was only basically a no star.
Wow, how'd that turn out?
Yeah, right. So yeah, well, the Bill Bush fan club meets every Tuesday night.
Every Sunday night. We'll just
every Sunday night. Yeah,
every night we'll just talk about Bill Bush.
All right. An hour ago, John says we were talking about offensive schemes. He says we're saving everything for Ohio State.
Sure. Yeah. Let's tell ourselves that.
I would say
I'm sorry, John. I love you, bro, but no.
John said like last week on his show, he was, I only ever met Jake, I only ever talked to him, but he seems like he does an okay job on the show. I was like, hey, John, I really appreciate the shout out. With all
probably nicer than what he says about me. So
yeah, I was like, with all due respect, buddy, but one, I'd love to talk to you because I think you know a lot about football and you seem like an awesome guy. Two, no, we're not saving anything for Ohio. We're not saving everything for Ohio.
I don't.
We're just trying to win ball games.
Yeah, I don't believe in saving back a bunch of stuff.
No.
Maybe
we're just trying to win games.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you got to use every bullet in the gun.
Yeah, which is what we've been doing. Yeah.
All right. The last starred comment that I have is from Living in Omaha. David Matney, the official realtor of the 5 Heart Podcast, and other great content here on the Corn Nation YouTube channel, says, how many games will the lack of special teams cost us this year?
At least one.
You could almost say it kind of cost us the Illinois game.
It did. I'll say it's going to cost us all 3 losses that we'll have.
Yeah.
Now, I want to, because I picked Nebraska to go 12-0 in the regular season. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But would it come down to special teams in Columbus?
Well, that would be
in the Coliseum.
That would be the nightmare scenario. Like, let's say Nebraska stakes like I don't know. I'm just gonna say like a 30-24 lead late in the game, and our kickoff coverage gives up a kick return for a touchdown, or we're trying to punt with a 3-point lead with a couple minutes left, and we get a punt blocked.
Or we kick it to the wrong side of the field.
We were just talking about that today. Damn you.
No.
Sorry. Yeah, I could say I have Ohio State and USC as the losses. So, yeah, those are the games. I think
doesn't look that imposing. So,
no, but road. Did you see that every team that had to travel 2 time zones were 0-6 yesterday? The travel aspect of it is something that I think needs to be paid attention to.
Mm-hmm.
You guys want to do risers and fallers?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do risers and fallers. Let's do our predictions for the Indiana game. And
no, we got a bye week. We'll do predictions for Indiana next week.
Nah,
next week. No, we got to do mid-season grades. We have to do mid-season grades. Yeah. We'll do a whole show next Sunday on mid-season grades.
I'd rather do predictions today so we have something to talk about too next week.
Yeah,
how we get to those predictions.
What do you think, Greg? You're running this show, man.
Well, we've always done it the week of the game, but we can make an exception because we're weak point.
We can also have a fun show next week. We do like both, and we can also do like, grades and
whose heart and mind was changed in the last week.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like interacting with all the filthy animals.
Same, Josh. Same.
Yes, Salon. Figured I was way late. Yeah, it's not even that late, dude.
Yeah, and he's in Mountain Time Zone, so it's yeah. Let's do buying and selling risers, fallers. I'm gonna go to the other room and get the list of scores.
Videotapes.
Sure.
No. I don't think he got that reference.
So me to go.
Yeah, go.
All right, risers. Brian Buschini, number 1 riser, buying stock in Brian Buschini. Number 2 riser. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to agree. James Williams.
Yep.
James Williams, I've just been piling on the James Williams train for a couple weeks now. I think James Williams is a legitimate NFL superstar waiting to emerge. I think he has, I'm going to get roasted for this, but TJ Watt type talent.
Okay.
Not saying he's as physical as him, but like the speed, the get off, the ability to make sacks. That's my 2 risers. Fallers, not because I think that he's falling, but Dylan Raiola.
Yep.
He's not falling.
Gotcha.
I'm just putting him in there because his performance was not what we're used to. I don't think he's falling, but he's one of the guys I'm going to say is a faller. And the other one is Marquise Buford. First half played great. Second half got really shaky, got really uncomfortable, and I think he's a damn good corner that just needs to keep himself dialed in and focused. So my two risers, James Williams and Brian Buschini. My two fallers are Dylan Raiola. Again, not because I think he's having a bad, not saying he's actually falling, but just because he had a bad game. And then Marquise Buford, just because the second half performance, he lost focus.
I like both of those. At the risk of, I don't want to just be a repeat parroting what you're saying, so I'm going to go a little different direction. I'm also a big James Williams guy. Risers, it's not really on the surface stat-wise, but I really like the way that Jalen Lloyd's been playing in the past few games. He got off to a slow start. I was kind of wondering if maybe he was losing his spot to Ja'Cory Barney a little bit, but Jalen Lloyd has come back in. He made that big play on the fake punt. He just really has been more consistent in his opportunities than he was in the first few games.
Yep.
The other riser, I would have to say, I'm probably going to go with Gunnar Gatula on this one.
Yep. You could have gone Lutovsky.
Showing, he looks like the communication issues that existed between him and Justin Evans on those last couple drives against Illinois when they were stunting. They were on that tech stunt against us. They really have done a nice job passing that off. Just kind of work, it just comes through repetition, working with one another. For fallers, I would have to say Jamari Butler, and maybe it's a little unfair because he's been injured, but he's kind of been a little uncharacteristically quiet, largely because he had such a great start to the year, and that injury's never really been specified. I'm not saying that I believe it. I'm just saying I'm not sure how serious it is. If
that chasing three where when it was a coin toss, he was like, make sure they get the ball first.
Yeah. At that point, I'm like,
kind of fell off a little bit. I agree, Haas. Sorry, not interrupting you.
You're good. At that point, I'm thinking okay, this is a guy. This is all conference level.
That's what I said to you. Yeah. Jamari Butler is my favorite player, man. He's an unhinged psycho. I love that.
The other faller, I would probably have to say, and you said Dylan Raiola is one of them. And again, just based on his performance, not
don't think he's actually falling. I'm just picking him because of his performance this week. I do not think he's falling, but
I just thought of another riser. I should have said Deshaun Singleton played an
amazing game.
He might have played the worst game I've ever seen a Husker safety have against Illinois.
Bounce it back and played an amazing game.
You know what? I will say for the other faller, I'll say Jamal Banks is kind of getting quiet again. Yeah. I agree with that. I just want to see consistency from the receiving core. It's you got an NFL generational talent at the quarterback position. It's it should not be this difficult for guys to get open and gain separation.
Is my turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I've got maybe an unusual riser, and there's a moment in that first half when Kyle Monangai was just, I think we were talking, he was 10, 12, maybe 15 yards a clip, and I was like, somebody's got to get a stop here. And while he didn't have statistically the biggest game, he managed to tackle for a loss he only had 2 tackles, but one of those I think was that welcome to Memorial Stadium, your day ends here, and that's Elijah Judy.
What's funny? Elijah Judy's a guy that in past years would have been far and away our best defensive lineman.
That's a phenomenal take, Greg. Judy played an amazing game.
Again, relatively unheralded in the stats.
Nope.
But
played disruptive, played awesome. Good pick.
And the other I don't know if any of you guys mentioned Sierra Wright. I know he had a really great game yesterday. But I'm going to go to the other side of the football. And I think that, you guys mentioned Gunnar Gatula. A lot of that communication happens with the guy standing next to him. That's Justin Evans.
He's there. He's so consistent.
And I know, Hoss, you were high on him last year as well. And I think he's really settled in. And also, who doesn't like to give credit to offensive linemen from time to time?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Hey, not to give myself too much credit, but Haas and I were both very high on Justin Evans. Justin Evans, great player.
The other side of that coin, Isaiah Nayor didn't register on the stat sheet at all yesterday. I mean, he was an 11th guy on the field, and they were not all necessarily his fault. There was the pretty blatant, and I know this because at one point I had to hit pause because the kids were running around like maniacs, and in the pause, his jersey was being pulled back, and that it could have very easily been defensive pass interference, but he just too quiet today. Hopefully, they figure out. I know you mentioned Jamal Banks. Jamal Banks at least had a 31-yard catch. But yeah, you guys are right. There's generational talent in that huddle in Dylan Raiola. Somebody's got to figure out how to make a play, hold on to the ball, catch the ball, take it upfield. So that's one. And then I don't know. I tend not to, try to get too negative. I don't even think necessarily that with Nayor it's even his fault because, Dylan's got a lot of weapons, and sometimes the play call doesn't always say to go to, one receiver or another. But I tell you what, this one breaks my heart. Cam Lenhart.
I was actually going to mention him as a potential honorable mention faller, but I kind of get the suspicion the staff might be working on redshirting him. Similar to Poppleton. I almost said
Poppleton.
Unironically. Poppleton.
Shout out, Dad.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Like, I'm 34. Like, I'm closing on that magical age of 45.
Where you're gonna start not be able to even pronounce player names. Yeah.
But yeah, another riser that you can make a case for, I would really have to say is it's kind of a water is wet statement. John Bullock again.
Yep.
Another solid player. He's constantly just game over game. He's just stacking.
Another good game. Physical.
Yep.
Doesn't miss his run fits. The guy is steady every play. Every play is where he's supposed to be.
Because John Bullock was a walk-on.
Yep, he's a walk-on.
Yes, he was for Creighton Prep. And somebody, I'm not going to say who on this show, called him as being a star 5 years ago.
5 years ago. I remember when Jake
was back
and was like, this guy's going to be good.
He's going to be a star. That was back when he was playing safety.
Yep.
He was not a linebacker. I said he was a linebacker. That was also when Colin Miller, again, don't want to bash anybody. Colin Miller, worst linebacker to ever play.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
And I love you, man. I appreciate that you suited up for us, but Vincent Shavers, TSD, again. Vincent Shavers, number 17, badass. Obviously,
number one.
Obviously going to be a player for us. 100% agree with that. Absolutely. He missed my cutoff for a riser, but he's a true freshman. Have you guys noticed the amount of true freshmen?
Yeah, that's one thing that the staff is really good at, getting true freshmen on the field.
Ja'Cory Barney.
Yep.
I mean, Vincent Shavers, Willis McGahee, the fourth.
Kiana Davis.
Holy crap.
Dylan Raiola,
obviously.
Water is wet, Greg.
Little too on the nose there, but I'll take it.
TSD, by the way, one of my favorite commenters always is TSD, and he always has good insight. So
can't start picking favorites, and
I know they're gonna come at you. I know.
Hey, there's no scraps in my scrapbook.
You don't have a scrapbook.
John says you guys haven't picked a running back.
I don't want to talk about the running back situation.
Yeah, I'll pick one. Emmett Johnson, just like I did preseason.
I mean, Emmett Johnson, it's funny. Emmett Johnson had the big game against Purdue. comes in yesterday, can't get anything going. Dowdell did look better. Dowdell, didn't have a great game against Purdue. So it's funny. It's like the hot hand from the game before is not the hot hand the next game. It's just that I want to see consistency from the backs. I kind of feel like it's almost too much of a by committee approach right now.
Why does Josh want to kneecap me?
Because you said the TSD is your favorite.
Oh, sorry, Josh. I didn't mean that. I didn't say it was my favorite. I said it was one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
All right. I want to
need to kneecap me, man.
As we transition towards Indiana. I think they're all a bunch of frauds.
They didn't play anybody.
Ain't played no one yet.
Didn't you text me earlier in the week that you were more worried about Indiana than Rutgers?
Well, that's a road game issue. But I have also been on record of saying that Rutgers was going to be a field position game, and that was correct.
We didn't even talk about the blocked punt that ended up with Rutgers having the ball, I think, inside the 10 or 15, and the defense just shutting them down.
7 plays.
Yeah.
7
Full
plays.
stand. And you know what? It really was something like that. It was a galvanizing moment like that goal line stand against Illinois last year.
What, galvanizing? More like magical, man. Talk about just making you proud to be a Husker fan. That right there. Whew.
I understand the running back by committee yesterday again because of the temperatures, and you didn't want. I mean, they had Kyle Monangai rushing 19 times, and yeah, he was the low carry. He was their rushing attack. They had Samuel Brown 3 carries for 12 yards, but those were
I would just like to point out I have the receipts here, and I said I think we roll Indiana. They're so overrated, it's ridiculous. Rutgers concerns me more than IU.
Oh, maybe I got it confused. Sorry.
Okay.
I have a famously bad memory, Hoss. All right.
I'll remember that one, Greg. File that one away.
Yeah, you will remember that. I will never live that down for the rest of my days.
I'm just going to get kneecapped.
That's why you don't pick favorites. I love them all equally, like my children.
Also, why you don't say the Bavadil Raiola, because Minnie's going to burn your house.
Minnie will burn your house down. Jake's kneecaps are getting capped by a crowbar.
Because I said I like TSD. So he's one of my favorites.
Greg is over here with false accusations.
Again, not on purpose. Bad memory.
No, okay. I think you got a better memory than you give yourself credit for.
I've been
Adderall, son.
I've been concussed. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that we could talk about that another time.
Yeah, I had a TBI when I was in high school. Haas tell you about it. Traumatic brain injury. It's hard to come back from that.
He woke up thinking he was PJ Fleck.
Yeah.
There we go. Thanks, John. He gets it. He's raising children you guys aren't, and they make you crazy.
Vince Watson. Lenhart can't redshirt. He has 5 games. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
Does he have 5 games? Is that I'm not saying Vince is wrong. Is that true?
I'm trying to think. I want to say there was a game that I don't remember seeing him in, but he could have been in special teams.
I'm sure Vince looked it up. So I'm not saying he's wrong, but
yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a little reminder here of our predictions. I guess let's do a quick recap of the Rutgers game. Hoss, you said Nebraska would win 24-20. Jake said 2017. I said 28-24. So we were all off, but we all at least had Nebraska winning. Yeah. So for Indiana, Hoss, you have us winning this one 33 from the beginning of the season. You said 33-21 Nebraska.
Okay.
Jake, you said 27-13 Nebraska.
Yeah.
And again, I just gave the win. Yeah, let's write something down here. I'm just gonna do a little. All right, so I'll say 35-20. Nebraska. A little close to yours, Hoss. I'm not going to apologize for that again. Touchdowns, not field goals.
Can I amend mine?
Always.
I'm going to go Nebraska 21, Indiana 9.
Ooh, how do they get 9?
3 field goals.
3 field goals. Okay.
21-9. And I will say, I think they're frauds. They ain't played anybody. But when Rourke is throwing for as many yards as he is per
Knock
game,
that shit off.
and they're a top 20 offense, I will say, like, beating a top 20 offense, if we could hold them 3 field goals, that's even more of a galvanizing moment for this defense. You know, that's like, who cares, you know, if they're frauds? You went in there and you shut somebody up. You did it on their home field, you know. And plus, Indiana football, they just piss me off because I hate Indiana basketball too.
Hey, Kirk Signetti, Google me.
Yeah, I mean, he did great at Jim Madison.
By the way, as much as to be honest, chat right now, and I hate Kirk Signetti. I fucking think he's an asshole.
I think he's a good coach.
Google him. He wins.
Yeah.
He's right. He does win. He's a very good coach. You know, like you said, it was somebody asked him about his past. He was like, Google me. Yeah, Google him. All he does is win.
Let's see. Josh says offense wakes up 35-17 Skurs, which is his kind of usual.
I don't even give up 17 points.
Well, that's unfortunate because that's what your favorite TSD says, 28-17 Nebraska.
Well, yeah, I didn't say it was my favorite.
Sorry, one of your favorites. That's fine. I'll rewrite the narrative to, you know, get everybody rallied against you anyway, Jake. No. Londell says 38-28 Indiana. Our offense won't be able to keep up.
Fair enough.
So
he scored 38 points, but
John says I love him because he's an asshole. He's great for quotes. Talking about Signetti.
100%. John, bingo, buddy. Yeah,
John, you also just love contrarians.
He is one.
I love him because he's an asshole. Yeah.
Tiger Shark Diver says my brain doesn't let me root against Nebraska, so I'm biased.
Yep.
See, I don't know if I saw any other. Aaron says he has traumatic brain injury after seeing my lunges on camera a few weeks ago. That was fun. That's a 5-heart special. You got to be here Thursday nights for that. Minnie said, "Yeah." No, I was just saying. Minnie said GBR.
I want to say this before we get out of here. We gave our score predictions.
Yep.
I want a bold prediction from each of you.
Again?
The game.
Does it have to be at the game or sometime between now and the game?
No, in the game. We don't get together to discuss how our weeks were. We get together to discuss Husker football.
Can we push this off until the midseason?
No, I want Greg to have the receipts, and you gotta do this. It's bold. It's supposed to be bold.
That means I got to write it down,
or just have it. It's being recorded for posterity.
All right, I got one. James Williams plus 2 sacks.
Okay.
2 is the minimum, if not more than 2.
I'll give that a 7 on the boldness scale.
I'm going to say, yeah, Ed Foley's not there.
Coach. It shouldn't be.
I'll give that 11 on the boldness scale because I don't think Rule will part ways.
They're not going to fire him.
Well,
even though they should, they won't.
I'm going to say Kurt Signetti gets a personal foul penalty assessed against. No, that's too easy. Ja'Cory Barney, 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
All right. Well, we have our prediction for 2 weeks from now. We have our hot takes or bold predictions, I should say, for 2 weeks from now. Next week, we'll do our mid-season scorecard, mid-season roundtable.
That'll be an exciting show.
All right, everybody, have your pens and papers ready, and we're going to grade the 2024 Huskers through the first half of the season. God, here's the thing. This is what pisses me off. It's already the first week of October, and we're halfway through the guaranteed games that we're going to get for Nebraska this season. It's going by too fast, guys.
Well, if we make that playoff, we'll have Maybe 5-6 left. 5-6 more.
I'm saying. I'm here for it. Oh, wait a minute. Check this one out. Bold prediction for Indiana. John says we have a 150-yard rusher.
Yeah, who is it, John?
Yeah, John, can you give me the lottery numbers too?
Let's see. Pitt says there's no need to fire an assistant in the middle of the season when they can just add to the staff at infinitum. Infinitum.
I think there's more likelihood to fire in the middle of the season than add somebody mid-season.
I agree.
Interesting. This is quite the hot take, bold statement. I love you guys, and Jake is my favorite.
Thanks, Josh. Very nice of you to say.
I'm going to write Josh out of my will.
Okay, well, I'm going to write him into my will. So
I'm going to Photoshop myself out of the pictures that I was in his wedding.
Very nice of you to say, Josh. Appreciate
Josh, I broke bread with you down in Lincoln. You and Greg and Katie all together. We broke bread.
Yeah. We were roommates one time.
Katie's my blood, so.
Yeah. We know. We know that whole story. No, I'm kidding. No. All right. That'll do it, I think, for here's the lottery numbers, by the way. 12, 34, 5. Pick 3.
Terrible numbers. If they come in.
Yeah, you're talking to the Keno wizard here.
Yeah, right.
Josh wants to know, asking for a friend, who has the better net worth, Jake or Haas? So he knows.
Oh, Haas. Well, this depends. Are we counting wives? Do we count wives? I got it beat by a lot.
Yeah. Y'all do pretty well over there.
If we're counting just family wives, yeah, I got him killed. If we're talking just us, he's got me beat.
Who's still carrying student loan debt?
I do. It's
All
not
right.
a lot, but we paid. My wife has a advanced degree in healthcare.
Nice.
To be honest, she's a doctor, so
We
paid for her schooling as we went. So we have no debt for her. I do have debt though.
Hey, that's okay.
That's why I was joking about that. I'm like, if we would talk about net worth when it comes to wives, yeah, Haas, you don't stand a chance, buddy. You do really well for yourself, but
not that well. Not to that extent. No.
If we talk about just me and you, yeah, you got me beat.
Well, we've had a lot of fun tonight talking about the 5th win of the season for your Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's great to catch up with these guys here on a Sunday and hey, not just catch up, do it live and have this community that we've built over time here. So, yeah, just a ton of appreciation for all of you sticking out with us on a Sunday night. We know most of you got to work tomorrow. And so, again, just a lot, nothing but gratitude and appreciation, at least from my little spot here in Southern Illinois, not Northern Illinois. Man, that common sense.
The pride of, you know what? Fuck it. You're from Gary.
Yeah. Hey, somebody else mentioned that in comments, by the way. I think it was Josh.
John actually called me out. He said, that guy's married. Yes, I am married.
Someone for everyone, John.
There's someone for everyone, John, even me.
And speaking of John, you can check out Monday Night Therapy tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central, right here on Corn Nation's YouTube, as well as Facebook and X. We have Husker Happy Hour with Andy Ketterson on Tuesday. The 5 Heart Podcast will be right back here on Thursday night, 9 o'clock. And then next Sunday night, once again, we will do our midseason report card. So make sure that you're here for that. Have a beverage or 8, whatever you need to do, because there are going to be high points. There are going to be some low points. And we got to figure out who's buying, who's selling, and what we have to look forward to in the second half of the season, which will be in 2 weeks on the road, Bloomington, Indiana. So much appreciation for these guys, for Jake, for Haas. I'm Greg Mahochko. This is Corn Nation Overreaction. Go Big Red. Haas.
Get better special teams.
Jake.
That's all I got to say.
That's all I got to
No
say.
bones, baby.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
That's all you have to do.
I thought he was going to say fire Ed Foley.
Nope.
No,
Defense wins championships, baby. Throw the bones.
Not during the season.